All right, today we're jumping into a really powerful design philosophy called vibe coding. Now, what is that? Well, think of it as a playbook for creating products that are so simple and effective, they almost feel like magic. And it all boils down to chasing one seemingly impossible goal.
So let's just get right to the heart of it. The central idea for this entire framework is this one sentence. This is our North Star for today. The ultimate goal of every product is to become one button.
I know what you're thinking. Is that just a crazy, impossible dream? Or could it actually be the hidden secret to building products that feel totally effortless and, yeah, magical? Well, that's the big question we're going to tackle right now.
Okay, so let's dig into this one-button theory. What's it all about? Well, the core idea is that great design is an evolution, always moving towards the state of, well, absurd simplicity. I mean, think about the best tools in your kitchen, right? A blender, a vacuum cleaner. They often have one main button, on. That's it. They do one thing perfectly. This theory is all about taking that exact same logic and applying it to digital products.
So why one button? What's the logic here? It's because the user has to do something to tell the product, hey, I want the result now. And in a digital world, what's the simplest, most direct way for a person to do that? It's pressing a button. It's basically the peak of intuitive design, short of reading minds.
Okay, so if our destination is that one perfect button, we're going to need a map to get there. And to build towards that kind of simplicity, we first need to break down what any screen is actually made of. Let's look at the 4 fundamental layers that make up any interface.
First up, we've got Layer 1, Data Output. This is everything the product is showing you. It's all the information flowing from the product to you, the user. Could be a simple icon, a paragraph of text, or a huge video. It's the communication layer.
Next up, Layer 2, Data Input. And this is the complete opposite. This is any time the product asks for information from you. Filling out a form, that's data input. Choosing something from a drop-down menu, also data input. Uploading a file, you guessed it, data input.
Then there's Layer 3, the back end. The source material uses this brilliant metaphor. It's like the engine in a car. You don't need to see it or know how it works to drive, but without it, well, the car is just a fancy metal box. The back end is that invisible logic that makes everything interactive. Without it, a button is just a pretty picture.
And finally, Layer 4, Harmony. Now this one is absolutely crucial and it gets overlooked all the time. This isn't about function, it's all about feeling. It's the visual design, the aesthetics, the taste. The source calls it the energetic impact, which I love. And this matters so much because a product that just feels good to use creates an emotional connection. It turns a tool into something you actually want to interact with. It's the art behind all the science.
So now we've got these 4 layers. But what are we actually trying to optimize for? Well, this brings us to the master metric, the one thing that truly governs the quality of any product, usability. Everything we do from here on out is to make that number go up.
And this chart illustrates the laws of usability perfectly. The relationship here is so direct, it's almost brutal. Fewer screens to get a job done? Boom, higher usability. Fewer buttons on each of those screens? Higher usability. Simpler language, fewer steps. You see the pattern. It all points in the exact same direction.
So the goal becomes crystal clear: maximum usability. It's not about adding more features. It's about being ruthless and cutting away everything that isn't absolutely essential.
Okay, theory is great, but how do we actually build this way? Let's get practical. The key here is to structure the entire user journey by working backward. You don't start at the beginning, you start with the final result. And to do that, you have to understand this core concept of sub-results. Look, if you can't get the user to their final goal in a single step, you have to break the process down. But the trick is to ask, what are the absolute minimum intermediate steps needed to get there? Each one of those is a sub-result.
And this slide just perfectly shows the impact of this thinking, right down to the smallest element, the button. Just look at the difference here. On the left, you have Submit. It's generic, it's an action. But on the right, Get My Genius Profile. That's a specific, desirable result. One describes the work you're doing, the other promises the reward you're going to get.
And here's the principle behind that. A truly great call to action doesn't describe what the user is doing. No, it describes what the user is getting. The words on that button should be a promise of the value that's waiting for them right on the other side of that click. That really is the secret. All right, let's put all of these pieces together now. This brings us to the playbook that's at the very heart of this whole philosophy, the vibe coding method.
It's a step-by-step guide that's designed to be so clear you could even use it to tell an AI how to build the product for you.
Okay, so here are the 7 steps. You can see how they just build on each other perfectly. You start with the absolute most important thing, defining that final result. Then you work backwards, breaking it into the fewest possible sub-results. Then you design the screens for those, figure out what information you need, and add only the most essential navigation. And notice how harmony and delight, the beauty, comes after the core structure is locked in. And then finally, you build. It's a complete blueprint.
And that last step, vibe code it, is really the big meta idea here. Vibe coding is the concept that this whole playbook isn't just a design philosophy for humans. It's actually a perfectly structured brief for an AI. You provide this clear, principled vibe, and the AI can generate the code, the screens, the whole product.
The source material is incredibly ambitious about what this makes possible. This isn't about just making good products. This is a recipe for making incredible ones. You know, the kind of intuitive, simple, powerful products that we associate with the greatest designers of all time. That's the bar. That's the standard we're aiming for.
And that really leaves us with one final thought to take away. As you think about your own work, your projects, your ideas, ask yourself this simple question. What is the one button that, if it could exist, would completely revolutionize your product? Because just answering that question, that might be the first step to actually building it.